Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to this week's Featured Photographer of the Week. I'm here with Dana. We're going to learn about her business and how she runs a business in the photography industry. A little background on myself. My name is Dustin Lucas. I am the co-owner of Evolve Edits. My wife and I purchased this business a little over 2 years ago from Sal Sencada. I've worked for Sal for over a decade, kind of navigating a photo editing company amongst all the ever-changing technologies and software and business needs out there. But I want to hand it off to Dana to learn a little bit more about her studio.
Hi, I am Dana Reinke. I own Creative Catch Studio. I've had a brick and mortar studio for 11 years now, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been great. I've been doing photography for over 25 years now. I started in the wedding industry and then took a break when I had kiddos. And here I am. I'm doing portraits, focusing on high school senior portraits, headshots. I do photo booths. I do photos with Santa in the holiday time and family.
Very cool. So weddings to portraits for family. I think, especially during like COVID and things slowing down and people kind of reevaluating their time, how can I make 6 figures and get my weekends back? How can I have, you want to do stuff on the weekend, and you're a studio shooter, so you probably don't necessarily get your weekends back. A lot of shoots are on the weekends and sales, but weddings are, it's enduring, right? So starting out as a wedding photographer, talk to me about that. You kind of jumped in, I'm assuming doing some level of sales or maybe kind of a shoot and burn, digital post online kind of approach.
Yeah. It was mostly shoot and burn. It was before I met all the people that helped me get to where I'm at now and understand that this is a business and not a hobby. And so when I started doing weddings, it was more about a self-desire. I went to school for graphic design, and I went on a photo shoot for a website I was designing, and I was like, whoa, this day was really awesome. What was great about it? And I realized it was because I was with people and not in front of a computer all day. And so I called there was the phone book then. So I called every photographer in the phone book and was like, hey, can I be your assistant? I want to learn more about photography. And so having loved photography all through high school and college and whatnot, it was obviously the natural way to go. And so I did that, and I was an assistant for probably about 10 years. And then I started taking on clients for this person. And then obviously the natural next step is, hey, I hear you're a photographer, you want to do my wedding. And did that for a while.
So a little bit of a mentorship. You came from a graphic design background, which probably makes you a little more familiar with the applications and the technology background. And you've got website and logo and all those things, kind of dialed in, but you understand branding. So to kind of jump off from there, I think that's an interesting piece, because you've created branding. You've created style kits, for different businesses. Creating one for yourself, okay, you have a familiarity with that, and you're just bridging that with, let me learn this tool, this camera. I'm great with people. Learning the photography. That's, you kind of already have the 80% part dialed in. The other 20%. Not saying a creative's skill set is only worth 20% to their business, but that is true. And that versus 80% your photographer, your artist, and 20% business tend to have a little bit, rougher time with those numbers. So you've probably gone through multiple iterations of your brand on like, what do I want my brand colors to be and what fonts I'm using and like logo. My gosh, but you can't change it so much that people are unfamiliar with what the hell your brand is. Stick with something, and refresh it, every 3 to 5 years or maybe sooner. But all that fun stuff. So graphic design, weddings. So brick and mortar studio, fast forwarding, that's, there's got to be a level of, you're kind of nervous with, I've got, brick and mortar studio, I've got rent, I got to fill up, number. So where did it start with portraits before brick and mortar studio? I'm assuming you outgrew plan A, which was kind of maybe shooting at home or, right. And you're like, I can't have people coming in my garage anymore. We got to make this like a little more professional. Talk a little bit about that transition from pre brick and mortar studio to now.
Yeah. So I had been, out of weddings for probably about 5 years. I did other things that weren't photography related, and I continued to do the portraiture. And I just kept exploding a closet in my office every time I would do a shoot. And I was like, this is not how this should work. And I didn't spend a lot of money. I just kept making money. So I had a nest egg that I started with, and I told my husband, I said, hey, can we just try this for 3 years and see and get a brick and mortar? So we found this actual studio that I'm in now, and I updated my logo. I changed my name. So I was Dana Reinke Photo in the beginning, and now it's Creative Catch Studio. And it's, for the most part, it's been the same logo since the beginning. I obviously knew what I was doing in the beginning, so that was easy. I have simplified it, and I think made it a more higher end look than when it was started out. But I think that's a typical progression that every business has. And I really enjoy, and the funny thing, I could do speed lights all day long. Like I can teach tons of people like how to use a speed light, and all the things that most people in Evolve clientele know now, most people, but I didn't know how to use a studio light. And so I was like, I got studio lights. I got like one of the little,
what am I doing? Yeah. I mean, it's
yeah. And so I did a couple, and I was like, this is easy. And so actually one of the first shoots I did in my studio, I submitted it to a Shutterfest
image comp back in the day. Yeah.
And I won a merit, and my husband were like, is that normal? And so we had no idea. And so it was kind of cool because it's one of 2 that I've earned now. And so it's been really great. And I honed in on, shooting portraits. And one of the things that I learned from weddings to portraits, and I'm sure a lot of listeners can agree, is that when you go and you shoot a wedding, everybody shows up. They're all in their best attire. The bride is excited, and everybody's there for her. So it's natural for her to smile. She's marrying the man of her life, and man of her dreams, rather. And so like she smiles, she does all the posing, all the things. I thought that taking that into portraits, and I started with family portraits in the beginning with the studio, and I had to take a step back because I expected mom to show up the same way as these brides did, and they didn't. And so I was like, oh, I got to learn how to pose my mostly female subjects, but guys, they get concerns too. But a lot of times I think the girls are more critical in the sense that they just won't show up. And so I took a lot of education, like a lot of classes to learn how to pose, and that helped tremendously. And I'm 100% confident that if you're like, I'm not going to like my photo, I'll be like, well, try me, let's go check it out. And 9.6% of the time they're like, oh, wow, I actually enjoyed that. And that was a lot of fun. So that's where my studio, I would say everybody tries to do that, but I go in and I have fun first. And,
of course,
it has to work. So I can enjoy the process with them.
Well, you have to have a personality behind the camera, get them feeling comfortable, but then there's some, different tactics or ways that you can, of course they need to be posed. You can't have people just showing up like, oh, you know what to do, right? Like hand in there, like you're walking them through a few steps and a few options, and they're cycling through that and they're learning, and then they're getting buy-in going, okay, if I do what she says, see the camera, maybe even turning back a camera and saying, hey, look, like this is what you're looking like. Okay, now the kind of guard is no longer up, and all those things. And so so for you transitioning in your business, because I think this is really common, right? I'm using my name, photography, my name and middle name, just in case maybe things don't work out with my my partner, right? It's keep it safe in that regard. Or you transition to a Creative Catch for you. Is that something? You did a rebranding from weddings. Everyone knew you as Dana. And then now into the studio, I'm assuming that changed. So it was a little more obvious. I'm doing portrait now. We're a portrait studio. That was a bigger change for you. Not, hey, I might have other people shooting for me one day. They're wondering why Dana's not showing up, which I think might be a little more common in the wedding industry with removing the names, and it becomes a brand, and it doesn't have to be the main photographer or the owner showing up to shoot.
Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to take my name out of it because of all the reasons that you said. If I was going to hire somebody as an associate photographer, I wanted it to be, something different. I also, because I do graphic design, I wanted to be able to like kind of house everything under that. People were like, are you a designer? Because it doesn't say anything about design in your logo. And so, it's kind of an all-inclusive in logo, and I love it. Creative Catch is actually me. I used to, in high school and college, I played first base, and so everyone called me the Creative Catch.
There you go. Okay.
So, it's still me. It's, but now I'm creatively catching, people's memories and lives, and so it's a dual purpose logo.
Okay. So, talk a little bit about the type of shoots. We talked about families. I know on your website, you mentioned seniors, headshots. What is the majority of your time spent right now for your business?
So it's shifting. I have he just turned 18-year-old son who's going to college next year. And I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, almost 3. She's Down syndrome. And so we do a lot of therapy classes. And, I kind of struggled a little bit after she was born. It was post-COVID. So I was literally like in 2021, I had like the best senior year of my life as far as, shooting seniors. Everybody was kind of getting on board. And then I got pregnant with this most beautiful little girl. And I was like, inside I was like, oh crap, now how am I going to run a business? Because before I was able to go to work and take time off and do all the things that we do. And it's really different running a business. So I reached out to, the community level up groups and Shutterfest groups and all that stuff. And I reached out and was like, okay, guys, I know you all are doing it. How do you do it? And so I figured it out and really just kind of gave myself grace through the first couple of years to kind of just stay afloat and make sure I was paying rent. And, we lived off of my husband's income. And I'm really happy I did that because it taught me a little bit about just taking a step back. And now I'm diving into my business, not with, I don't know what the word is. I'm more here, if that makes sense. I'm more present. And I'm enjoying every minute of it. And so sometimes, you kind of get deer in the headlights, like I got to make money and I got to do all the things.
Of course.
And it's just happening. And so to circle back around to answer the question you asked, now I'm actually starting to focus on headshots and photo booths for the time being. I still do seniors. I still do family portraits. I'm adding all that back in. It's just a little bit more time consuming to do those shoots. Headshots, I can schedule a day and have a babysitter or have her go to school. And photo booths, same thing. So it's because of that, I'm shifting right now until she gets into a school. And so with the headshots, those are mostly in studio. I do go on location a lot, but one of the main things that I guess pride myself in, and I know I'm not alone here. I know that a lot of photographers, the good photographers do, is making sure that you're present with your client right there. And I always ask my clients 2 questions every time, unless if I'm doing photo booths, I say, okay, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One, what is it that you love about the photos? When you go get a photo taken with people and you see the photo, what is it that you love about that photo, about yourself, like your face, your body, whatever? So they're critical, right? They don't really usually have something. And so I have to kind of coach them through that. And then I ask another question. I say, okay, so when you see a photo and you really don't like it, what is it that you notice about it? And that's where I get the information that I need to start the process of them trusting me, that trust. Because now, we've leveled up. And I know like it's my nose. If I turn this way, my nose looks funny, or my eye, everybody's eye is one's shorter than or smaller than the other. Or I have a crooked smile, and I was like, well, we all have that. And here's how I'm going to fix it. We're in the studio. We do actually in studio and on location for headshots that we do instant viewing. And so you're going to look at your photo and you're going to know exactly what we're shooting. And if there's something you don't like, we're going to fix it right away. Yeah. And so that's, I just did a shoot with a big insurance company a week and a half ago. And they were all very excited and they were like, wow, you have so many cool things. And I'm like, well, this is how you get good photos, And so I don't want to deal with my technology. I'm not a tech person. And so my gear has to work. And so I show up and everything is working, and then I can just interact with with the person in front of me and just really get to know them and have fun with them and get amazing photos.
Yeah. I mean, I think shooting tethered headshots. I mean, Sal did a webinar using like a Voto and showing that tethered approach, and like how you can have, like, if you go to an insurance office and maybe they set you up with a conference room or something like that, they move the table all the way and you're kind of set up in there with your backdrop and your lighting, and maybe you do the LinkedIn photo, and then you go and do, portrait in the environment, if there's kind of that duality needed in that, but it's showing them that image and then options. It's like, holy shit. And so beyond just, wow, that's cool, it becomes functional so they can select in real time. Then you're not having to, hey, I'm going to post these all online, wait for, everyone. Yeah. It's like you're selecting, they're picking it. And then you always offer maybe another option, like, hey, a little more personality, let's get something professional, right? And kind of bouncing between the two of those.
Yeah. And that's what, I have my base, and it's not very much, but I'm confident that I'll sell at least, 2 images to most people. And like with this group, I think it was like 10 or 12 people that I shot. And I think 3 or 4 of them got an extra image, because I talked it up. I was like, well, do you have multiple clients? Because insurance, I can't remember what they call themselves. They have multiple clients. And so the brand side of me is able to like talk to them about that and say, hey, if you have, a retail, home, what do you call it? You have commercial and personal, right? So if you have a customer, you're going to want to dress
commercial, of course.
Than you want for your commercial. So let's go ahead and shoot you on with 2 outfits on. And I'd say that for all my headshots, I offer, no matter what, I was like, you can bring multiple outfits and we'll shoot until we run out of time or until you're done. And it's honestly like 5 or 10 minutes. If I'm doing like a big portrait shoot and kind of more closer like a brand shoot, then we're looking at, 30 minutes to half an hour. I don't need a lot of time. Like I said, I got my gear set up to where I can focus, and also like their time is money too. So like, I used to be, gosh, it wasn't even too long ago, I would take so many shots because I thought that I needed to. And I had my brother come in, and he was, so I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to side panel. So during COVID, I was doing photos with Santa sessions, and I got COVID. Mm-hmm. And so I had a whole weekend where I had families coming in for sessions, and I was the only studio offering it because we figured out how to do it safely. And I called my brothers. I have 2 brothers. I called my brothers and I said, hey guys, I need your help. And they're like, what? Anything for you, sis? Craig, I need you to photograph, and Jay, I need you to do sales. I'll be on the phone and we'll just tell them what happened. But can you do this for me? And they're like, sure. So my brother,
exactly. You don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually did really good sales. They shot everybody well.
That's awesome.
And so now my brother calls himself a professional photographer. And I learned something when he shot, because you know what? He shot 1 shot, maybe 2 with these kids are hard, right? Like they run around, they're all over the place.
You get what you get. Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah.
But he shot it and he was like, done. And I'm looking through these and they were all gorgeous. And I was like, because his ability to shoot only a couple images makes the sales go better, faster. So you're not shooting 10 of the same image, and now they're looking at.
You're cycling through them, and you're like, "What's the difference?" And it's just kind of like,
because they'll
you like it or you don't.
Yeah,
like,
and then because when you do that, they're like, "Well, can I just have all of them?" Because they don't want to think, right? And so then I learned something with that. So coming back around, I literally took that information that I learned from my brother and I pushed it throughout the rest of my business. And so now when I'm shooting, when I'm doing on location, really cool, like sweet shots with like the sunset going on, like I'll shoot a lot to make sure we got it. But I mean, headshots, like if I mess up, I can just do it again. It's not weddings, right? Like we're not missing the first kiss. So, but I don't, I am confident and they love it and we're done. And now they've saved time. They've, got some images that they like, go through them and they're in and out and they're loving the experience. So that's my headshot experience right now. And I just actually started using Evoto. I'm new to it. I'm trying it out, but, so I, like my shoot that I did a couple weeks ago, I got all of them. I sent it out to Evolve for, color correcting. And then I brought it back and then I just do my like final quick edits and I'm learning how to use it.
Of course.
I don't know how to shoot tethered with it yet.
Yeah. I mean, you shoot Canon or Nikon?
Yeah. Canon.
Canon.
Yeah.
I mean, in shooting tethered headshots, we did them at Shutterfest in 2024. I couldn't get the damn thing to work. Like it was a whole like, well, the USB-C is actually for charging and not for transfer. I'm like, this is out of control.
I shoot tethered all the time when I'm doing my headshots, but not through Evoda. I use Lightroom.
Okay.
Because I'm not, like I told you in the beginning, I'm not a tech person. So it takes a lot for Dana to switch, especially on site with, clients. I don't want to fail in front of them.
Right. Well, I mean, they have the thing where you can run like through the iPad. I mean, it's, when you want to talk about like, you imagine having it set up and maybe you have an assistant there with you and it's not just you, but they're sitting off to the side when they get the photos and they're going through the iPad, hearts, nose, heart. Like imagine somebody sitting there. So it's station one, station one, here's a mirror and a comb, or whatever, like, take a look at yourself, getting station 2, you, and then station 3, they're picking their image and then they're out the door. I mean, you could run through dozens of employees, if you were running that through it. So you have the same experience. You're working with the families and more children. You have headshots commercial. It's kind of funny how you started graphic design, very commercial, you're working with businesses or artists in creating that content. It's very much like, what do you want? Well, the logo should be blue and organic. And you're like, okay, so you're not showing up with something red and rigid. You know what I mean? Like you have to follow those rules. With headshots, right? There's going to be some kind of traditional aspect to that. Should an insurance agent have their arms crossed? Should they have their arms down? Like all that kind of psychology and stuff and the posing. But you're dealing now back to a graphic designer with a camera. You're working with businesses and kind of back to the branding. The headshot is the most photographic branded thing, especially for that business and kind of coming into there. I'm curious, especially as you're undersell students and things like that. I'm wondering how many of those businesses you start to look at and go, could I do their branding, graphic design side and build that, relationship? You're happy with photography. It sounds
I'm happy.
Just right there,
I'm confident in my graphic design. I actually just had a brand. I'm trying to get into brand photography, which I know sounds kind of like you don't do that. I'm trying to figure out how to make it as quick and painless as I can. So I want to add the brand because that's obviously something that I can do fairly easily. I just haven't yet. And so I'm starting to do that. And one of the things that I did is I'm getting a lot of like startup businesses that are coming in and they're starting with their headshot with me. And so I just send them to my design questionnaire. I'm like, this is going to help you with your session. And so I send that to them. I go, it's going to be weird because it's going to be asking you things that we're not going to talk about in the photo shoot. But the thing that I did learn from doing graphic design to photography is that people are the brand. And, it doesn't matter Coca-Cola, there's no face to the brand, but they put faces to the brand. Yeah. Right. So, they put an avatar of sorts that you're going to look at when you're thinking about Coca-Cola. That's just the first thing.
It's the polar bear, I can't, it's a fictional character, right?
Right. But these people, so it kind of like, I guess it really, I'm more confident now that in my slogan for my studio is people, personalities, portraits. And so it's my goal to not have it be stuffy and like, lawyers, I always say attorneys and insurance agents, or bankers, they want to just wear gray and white. And I'm like, do you though? Like, is that you?
Yeah. There's nothing sexy about finding out about that crazy interest rate unless you're like, this guy's got some personality,
Right. So everybody, I'm like, I just want your personality to shine through in that still photo and we're going to make it happen. And I walk them through it. I have a questionnaire that they fill out. Or it's not, well, sometimes it's a questionnaire. Sometimes it's just a 10-minute phone consult that I do. And then I send them like how to prep for their session. And I say, hey, text me photos of your outfits and I'll tell you whether I think they're going to work with you. Cause sometimes we have great photos or great outfits that we love and they look great on us, but they don't photograph well. And so then, I become that expert again, trusted advisor, making sure that I'm helping them before we even get to the shoot. They're now trusting me that she knows something about how I'm going to look good on the camera. So.
Sure. I mean, you are, you're trying to gain that trust after they book the shoot, maybe a little bit of that with the expectations and what happens. And that first experience is everything. But you're right. I mean, they're coming through, they're trusting you for this shoot. Again, if it's messed up, they could go with somebody else. But your goal is to convert that headshot into a branding session. Wouldn't that be great? So now you could go back and do those portraits in the place, and you have the owner, and then hey, we have a satellite office, and we wouldn't have all the images look similar. You did something so different than we've had other people do the JCPenney boring headshot. You brought some personality into it. We have to have you for the other shoot, and I mean, you have to look at that and go, what makes this insurance agency stand out? Of course, good service and the people, but man, those people look nice. They look like humans. They don't look like stale employees into that, industry. And I think that's something that Sal's talked about, like shooting for like Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, like doing something they were like, we want to be, can you just put us in this like, cornfield in the background, this kind of like, they wanted to be in this field thing. And he did these portraits in this, like this scene with the light, and they're like, holy shit, that looks fucking cool. And that's the piece, to that part. So, full round, 25 years in business, you've, evolved, no pun intended, into like headshots and building that part of the business up. And I love, I always think everyone's story is so unique to where they are, and having some level of keep the business afloat. Life comes in, becomes priority. Business is there, still run a little bit on business, and now business can slowly start to take back priority. In a similar boat, in the sense of my daughter was 2 years old when my wife and I bought the business. My son was 7. Now they're 4 and 9, and it's fucking crazy. There is no rule book. There's no how to do it. Everything's running all the time. You just have to like be presently prioritize one, but neither of them shut off, and it's very difficult, but it's good to have breaks on both sides for that. You just work all the time, and it's self-satisfying, but it's fun to have the other side of that too. I mean, I love we say we're a family business. I think a lot of people they like that, or if husband and wife partners are in business together. That's always clients love that type of stuff. And so, again, I want to thank you, Dana, so much for your time, for sharing with us about your business. I've learned quite a bit about your business working with you over these years. That's kind of, our goal in this, featuring you and talking about your entrepreneurial journey and all those fun things, but also your personal journey through that with family and business. And so again, thank you so much. And everybody tune into our feature photographer of the week next week. We'll be doing these every month. And thank you again so much, Dana, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Dustin.
All righty, we'll talk soon. Bye, guys.